Welcome, golfers. It's Quick Fix Golf because it's Wednesday night. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and that means it's time for our friends to get together and talk golf. And tonight we have a great topic, which is how to play golf in the rain. You got to knock those shots off in the rain. Oh, I know.
Yeah, what a great topic. Whoever plays in the rain. There's too many good days.
Well, that's because you're in Myrtle Beach. It never rains there.
Yeah, it will rain today.
All right, everybody, please silence your mics if you can so we don't have any dogs barking in the background or anything. We won't have any dogs barking in my background. I got my wife to go into the other room.
Oh, no. What about your cats? Terrible.
Anyway, tonight's show is brought to you by Darren DeMalley, PGA professional, taught 7 years for Jack Nicklaus, and he's teaching 100 years for himself. And he's a top 100 teacher, according to the Growth of the Game teaching professional, whatever it is. How you doing, Darren?
Everything's great.
And I'm voted number 2 in Havana because there's only one other pro on the whole island, so I've got to be at least number 2. And that's Guillermo. And they got one golf course on the whole island. The island's about as big as Florida. It's unbelievable. What are you going to do? So tonight we're going to talk about how to play better golf in the rain. As we do, we're going to be putting this on YouTube. Always, like on our channel, we got about 4 million views now. Give us a like if you liked it. Subscribe and ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
If you leave a comment, we're going to try and get back to you. Darren, tell them what we want them to do.
So what we need you to do is get out your cell phone and take a video of your golf swing. And we're going to analyze it for absolutely free. You know, it's the best analysis that money can't buy. And we'll send you some drills. And what you want to do is send it to quick service at quickfixgolf.com.
Upload it right on this page. Right on this page. If you go to free quick fix.
There you go.
And then go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep. Or you can go right to our website, quickfixgolf.com, and do it right there as well.
Now, here's step 1. When you're going in the rain, you got to have a positive attitude about the weather. I'll tell you what I personally used to do. I remember watching on TV, oh crap, here goes a senior moment. What was his name? Champagne Tony. Tony, what was his name, Darren? You wouldn't know.
Jacqueline?
No, not Tony Jacqueline. He died in a plane crash.
Tony Lima.
Tony Lima, thank you.
Thank you, McLean.
Tony Lima. And I remember watching him on TV winning a tournament with an umbrella in his hand, and it was raining. And when it started raining, I would start dreaming that I was in that position and make a positive out of it. I said, hey, if he could win in the rain, I can win in the rain. You can't go carrying on whining about how bad the weather is and everything because everybody else is going to play the same weather.
Yeah, Bobby, I think when it comes to the weather and you get inclement conditions, I've always looked at that as favorable for me because there's going to be a bunch of people that complain, and I immediately knew it, and you can easily rule them out because of the weather. So you do have to have a positive attitude, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. It is probably the number one thing that you need to have when you're playing in conditions like that.
Yeah, the rest of this is common sense that we're going to do. It's just common sense, and maybe you just didn't happen to know because you haven't done it. Because I had the same problem when I went to Europe. Well, you'll find out in a moment. I'll show you. But number one goal is to keep your grips dry. Scrub your grips on a regular basis, always before a rainy day. We used to scrub them in our hotel rooms when we're on the road, and we'd get a metal brush and get some Comet, put a little water on the grips, put some Comet on there, and scrub them real good the night before. And let them dry out right in your room.
Yeah, Bobby, we need to have a webinar just on that. I can't tell you how many people that come up for lessons, their grips are just awful, and they're worn, and they don't take care of them. And the worst are these wind grips that have been rotted that sit in people's garages for years. And your grips have so much of an influence.
Yeah, and if you don't scrub them the night before, you've got all that grease on them and everything. Of course, I guess it's sweat and everything. Most people, I'm a Cuban, so it's probably grease. Anyway, no sense of humor in this game. Scrub on your grips on a regular basis, and always before a rainy day. We'd always scrub them in the hotel room at night. Now, here's what happened to me when I first went to Europe. They laughed at me. Of course, I'm used to being laughed at anyway. But I was like all thumbs when it came to playing in the rain. And being from Miami, where I played in the rain, but it was warm. It was never really cold. It was just a different kind of wet. And the first thing I noticed they do is they get a spray and they spray their umbrella to make it waterproof. So here's just one that you can buy, I guess is Nick Wax or something it's called. But they would spray their umbrella with that to keep the water from going through the umbrella. Then, and this guy right here, whoever he is, he gets an A+. I'm going to show you right now. They would take gloves and put them up under the umbrella. There's those little wire things that you have on your umbrella. They'd have a half a dozen gloves up there. And they were rotating the gloves constantly. And you see how he's got a towel under his umbrella hanging from one of the spikes in the umbrella. That's also a good move. He's got a rain suit on. He gets an A+ for that. And then right down here in his golf bag, you notice the bag is tilted. It's not standing straight up and down. And you've got a towel over the top of the clubs. That was one thing the caddies were always careful to do, is to always tilt the bag, never hold it straight up and down so that water goes down to the bag and down into the grips. So you always have the bag tilted and always have a towel over the top of the clubs.
Of both the Democrats and the Republicans for the
Somebody's got the microphone on.
answer is always less government and more.
Somebody's got the microphone on. Here we go. Now tilt your golf bag. Install the bag cover if you want. We didn't always do that. We always had a towel on top of it. And keep the water from flowing down to the grips. Bring several towels. That's why you have this big pouch on the bag right here to put a lot of stuff in. I can't tell you what we used to carry in our staff bags on tour. I mean, it was unbelievable. Everything from golf shoes to bottles of whiskey and everything else. Sticking there. And the bag would weigh a ton getting on the plane, and then we, light them up to go play. But
Yeah, Bobby, I think there's been a lot since when you were playing, obviously when you were playing on tour. But I think there's two schools of thought. Either get your grips completely soaked or keep them completely dry. There's a few players nowadays that like their grips wet and they use rain gloves. And I bet you there wasn't rain gloves when you were playing, were there?
rain gloves, I'm surprised they had golf bags.
Exactly, right?
I mean, we used to have to put the feathers in the ball and sew it up. But yeah, you're right. There's a differences. I'm going off my experience, which is ancient. You're talking when I first got to Spain, it was 1972. So that's when they started laughing at. Now, rain gear. This is something that's changed a lot. As long as you mentioned that, Darren, the quality of the rain gear is so far superior today than it was then. Why don't you tell them? I mean, you're pretty.
Yeah, I've when I was teaching golf in the Hamptons in the off season, I would take care of the golf shop, and I'd have a chance to, order the merchandise for the year and come in contact with some of the best manufacturers because I was at the bridge and we had the really high end stuff. So I got a chance to understand the importance of the rain gear, how it was made, and the lightness nowadays. It just gets so light. Back in the day, rain gear was so heavy and you'd sweat. Nowadays, they've got it down to a science. And, doing what we do, I'm outside every day. Rain gear is an important thing that I need to invest in. And I think anybody who plays the game, you need to look at it that way. But people don't put enough money into their rain gear. They cheap out on it. They buy something that's only like $30 or $40. Or if you buy something that's of good quality, I'm talking like $400 or $500 for a jacket, you can keep it over a long period of time. It's nice and light. It breathes, and you'll be really happy you've done it, as opposed to just spending something for $50 or $60 and just getting something that's cheap.
Yeah, you gotta have good quality rain gear. I'm a real
Quality
believer in
rain gear
that.
is so important if you're going to play the game. I really do believe it.
I didn't even have any when I got to Spain. I never thought of it because our rain was warm in Miami. When it rained, yeah, but and like lots of times when I took a lesson with Bob Toski, a cloud would come out, it would start to rain, and he'd stand under the tree, and he'd tell me to keep hitting the ball in the rain. He says, "Don't worry, it'll stop raining in 2 minutes," and you just keep hitting balls. And we never wore any rain gear, so that's why I looked silly when I got there. Especially playing with the Brits, they were laughing at me. Wet versus dry with the golf ball. This is another thing that you need to discipline yourself on, is keeping the ball dry and keeping your club face dry. We're going to talk about that too, but it's estimated the ball will carry about 3 to 5 yards less in wet weather. And really keep in mind that it's going to come down to the ground sooner. So if you're going over water, you know, a lot of people, Darren, you know this from doing the TrackMan so much like you do. There are a lot of people think, oh, I hit the ball 230 with my 3-wood. So yeah, but how far do you carry it in the air? That might only be 180. The rest is roll. And
Yeah.
and they see it's
So
190 to clear the water, and they think, oh, I can clear this.
so I think that this slide that you have here is inaccurate.
It is.
It is inaccurate as far as how the ball is going to fly in the air when it comes to wet weather. Water is the opposite of friction. And when it comes to friction, friction creates spin. So without spin, the ball is actually going to go farther given most conditions here. So I think that this slide, I don't know where you got it, is actually inaccurate based on some of the TrackMan things that I've done. And here's my experience with this. Playing in a lot of tournaments back in the day, and I was first off, you know, first, second, third group off, and there was still dew on the ground. Any kind of wedge shot that I'd hit was consistently long because the ball didn't have a chance to grab on the club face. And I hated those first early morning tee times. I always wanted later in the day tee times because I couldn't control the ball. You know, if you're teeing off at 6:30 in the morning, I just hated it. I hated it because I had no control on what was going on there. So, you know, wet versus dry is a huge, huge, huge thing that I have studied with my TrackMan, and especially on like little pitch shots and things like that around the greens. Your ball just does not stop. It's amazing when you see the measurements versus, you know, just watching it with kind of your own eye. It's crazy how different a wet ball reacts than a dry ball.
Will a wet ball not go as high
No. Wet ball's going to go way higher.
without
So a dry
spin?
ball's going to go lower. A wet ball's going to go way higher.
Why will it go higher if it's going to have less spin?
It's going to go higher because it follows more the angle of the club face as opposed to the path of the golf club.
Uh-huh.
Which goes back to, you know, we've had this debate about, you know, where does the ball start? Is it following the club face? Is it following the path? Well, it just depends on the golf ball and depends on the conditions. The old golf ball was sticky. The modern day golf ball isn't as sticky. So the more the ball sticks on the face, the more the path influences its direction.
All right. I buy it. The next thing to do is to keep your club face dry.
Absolutely.
I always have one of those brushes that you could buy for like $5 or $5.99 or something at the pro shop. It has brush on one side and metal brush on the other side. And always clean that face off before you hit your shot. And don't take a practice swing. I see guys do that. I see them clean the club off and they take a practice swing and they touch the grass. Don't get anywhere near the grass on your practice swing.
You know, Gary Player is well known, Bobby, and I'm sure you know this. Whenever he'd hit a ball in the bunker and he'd hit a bunker shot, he'd make sure that his caddy, whether it was Wayne or whoever it was, not clean the club face. So in a bunker, when the club, you got sand on the club face, it creates a little bit more friction in there. And Gary loved having friction on the club face because he can control the height and the spin of the golf ball. So when he hit it in a bunker, he kept the club face with all the sand on it. But in general, clean that club face. It's so important. And even at the elite level, players nowadays don't clean their club face nearly enough. You have to keep it clean and dry.
Control your club face on your shots. You know, even if you swing a little smaller, which we'll go over that in a second. Wet conditions slow greens down and tend to have less break. What do you think of that, Darren? You might disagree with that one.
Well, that's I love your rain suit there. Especially
I noticed. I look at that. The guy looks like he came from outer space or
especially
something.
the duct tape that you have there in some of the joints.
I figured you'd like that one. Look at this clown putting on the green with puddles on it and everything.
He's going for the round of his life.
So when you're saying you're chipping and you got a wet ball and it's not going to roll as far, you're taking into consideration the green is dry. I mean, if the green's wet, is the ball going to roll as far?
No, the ball's going to be obviously affected by the moisture for sure.
Okay.
So in situations like that, you might want to change around the shot that you're hitting. For the most part, you and I both, Bobby, tell people to get the ball on the ground as quickly as possible. But if you're putting through a fringe that's awfully wet, it's got dew on it, you might want to change the approach to putting it up in the air a little bit and getting rid of some of the variable of the moisture there.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Now, here's Darren, you might disagree with it, which is fine. That's a positive because it gives both views. No feet, no knees, no errors, and no man left on base. Remember that one. I say this guy right here, look at how active his lower body is. His feet are moving around. He's turning all over the place. I say you want to have in the rain a stable, quiet lower body, almost like you're hitting out of a fairway bunker shot. Less movement around. Balance, 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 balance. Swing within yourself, as Nicklaus used to say, swing within yourself. And don't go trying to hit the ball harder because it's wet. And then you're moving around and your feet are unstable because the ground's wet. So I don't know. What do you think of that, Darren?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about ground interaction. And when it's wet out, the less ground interaction that you have, the better, at least in my opinion. So what does that mean? You have to have a shallower angle of approach. Meaning you want to make sure that you're catching the ball first. And whatever that means for you, depending on your swing. I completely agree with you here, Bobby. It's you got to get that ball first and eliminate some of the ground interaction.
Well, some people talk about you should, be more on your left side and swing more on your left foot and make sure you get the
Well,
ball
that
first.
encourages a downward hit, which means
Yeah.
your angle of attack gets steeper, and you're going to increase your interaction with the ground, and that's kind of not where I was going with that. But
Yeah,
people
that's
do it. To me, it's all about your best chances, and the more shallow your approach, the less interaction with the ground you have, and the better the strike.
Yeah, plus the way I feel about it is I don't want you to be doing something that you don't normally do. If you don't play golf on your left foot all the time and hit down on the ball, why are you going to do that today just because it rained? Just take your regular swing and just feel a little more stable in your lower body and feel balanced and swing within yourself. Don't swing 130%, swing 90%, 80%. But use your regular swing, brush the ball off the swing. That's just the way I feel about it. So that sort of covers what I had in my mind. If all you folks that are watching, get out your cell phone, video your swing, load it up to the site right here. You can see how you can put your name. You don't have to put your last name. You can put your first name's Pepito. And then if you want to put Gonzalez for the last name, we'll know who it is. Only kidding. And then put the email in, tell us how you heard about us, and send us your swing, and we can take a look at it. It won't cost you a dime, right, Darren?
Yeah, it's you owe it to yourself. Who doesn't want to play better golf?
Now let's open the phones.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I know a couple of